The Whistle Walk, a story of silence and survival. The sun was just beginning to rise over the sprawling fields of the American South, casting long shadows across the plantation. It was early, but the enslaved people were already awake, preparing for another long, grueling day. Among them was a young man named Samuel, who had been born into slavery and knew little else of life beyond the borders of the land he was forced to work. But today was different. Today he would take the Whistle Walk. The Whistle Walk was a quiet tradition among the enslaved people, but not one of their own choosing. Overseers demanded it. Enslaved people were required to whistle while walking from the kitchen to the house on a plantation. This practice had several purposes. Ensure slaves didn't eat or spit in food. Enslaved people were required to whistle as they walked, as whistling and chewing are incompatible simultaneous actions. It would also ensure that they did not eat or spit in masses food on the way to serve. Alert slave owners. The Whistle Walk could also alert slave owners of approaching slaves, so they could stop conversations they didn't want the slaves to hear. Entertainment. Slave owners sometimes used the Whistle Walk and singing as a form of entertainment, a method of control to prevent even the smallest acts of defiance. The whistle was meant to strip away their voices, forcing them into silence under the guise of a song. But Samuel and the others knew differently. They understood the true power of the Whistle Walk. While the overseers thought they were enforcing obedience, Samuel and his fellow workers used the walk as a way to signal to one another that they were still alive, still breathing, still resisting. The whistles were sometimes tunes passed down from elders, songs of sorrow, survival, and hope. With every note, they held on to a piece of their humanity. On this day, Samuel was not walking alone. He was flanked by his mother, an older woman who had endured the harsh reality of the plantation for decades. Her face, weathered by years of hardship, was set in a calm expression. She had walked this path many times before, whistling the same slow, mournful tune. Samuel matched her pace, his lips forming the familiar whistle, a melody his mother had taught him when he was a boy. It was a tune that spoke of stolen lives and stolen dreams, but carried within it the strength to keep going. As they walked, Samuel felt the eyes of the overseer on him, a constant reminder of the chains he couldn't see but always felt. But as his whistle grew stronger, he noticed something else. The way his mother's eyes softened when their whistles harmonized. The way the other workers ahead of him turned their heads ever so slightly, acknowledging that they too were part of this shared moment of defiance. In that moment, the whistle wasn't just a sound. It was a symbol of unity, a shared bond between the enslaved people who had so little control over their lives. For generations, the Whistle Walk had been a quiet rebellion, a way for enslaved people to claim a small piece of their dignity in a world designed to strip it away. They were told to whistle to prevent secret conversations. But those in power didn't understand that silence itself could be a form of communication. With each whistle, Samuel and others like him passed down a legacy of resilience. The tune might change, the path might shift, but the meaning remained. We are still here. The Whistle Walk was never just about the sound. It was about the space it created, the space to breathe, the space to remember, and the space to dream. Even in the darkest moments, when freedom seemed like an impossible dream, the whistle reminded Samuel that the human spirit could not be so easily broken. As Samuel and his mother reached the fields, their whistles faded into the warm morning air. The work ahead would be long and exhausting, as it always was. But Samuel carried with him the knowledge that each step, each note, was an act of resistance. The Whistle Walk, though forced upon him, had become his own, a reminder that even in the quietest moments, there is strength. And as the day wore on, Samuel knew that when the next walk came, the whistle would be ready. It was not just a sound. It was a lifeline, a way to stay connected to those around him and to the ancestors who had walked this path before. And in that whistle, there was hope. This story brings to life the hidden strength behind the Whistle Walk. turning an act of control into one of silent resilience and survival.